じて。
Alright, welcome to the second episode of my nighttime series. So, the first one was like a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to do this like every single night, but I just couldn't because I got very sick and I just couldn't talk at all. But now I can talk a lot better now, and now I can just like start making this a nighttime thing. So yeah, I'm very excited. This episode is gonna be a bit interesting because it is gonna be a list. First, I want to talk about how my day was kind of ruined by Kabam, but after that, we'll talk about who I think are the top 5 biggest letdowns of 2022. So yeah, it should be an exciting episode. Might be a bit controversial, but it's fine. It's the nighttime series, you know, you can get like a bit controversial if you want, you can get a bit goofy. So yeah, but first on the list, let's talk about how Kabam kind of ruined my day. So, last night, I stayed up until like 4 or 5 a.m. preparing resources for Absorbing Man, because every single update, on the Thursday after the new event, they released the early access bundles for the new champion. I'm like, okay, so that's going to be the same trend, right? And Absorbing Man was confirmed to be next, so I was like, okay, so I'm just going to prepare a bunch of mystic resources like the ISO, the Catalyst, so I can rank 5 him immediately when he comes out. And I spent like pretty much all night doing that. It was a very boring time, but I did it, right? And I was like, okay, so when it hits 12 o'clock today, I'm just going to take him up to rank 5 immediately, make some videos on him, and just have a very fun time playing with him. And then it hit midnight. I mean, no, not midnight. It hit 12 o'clock, and the bundles were out. And I was like, okay, well, this is a bit weird. I checked the forums. I checked everything. I even checked a stream that was going on, I think. I think it was Cam's stream that was streaming like gameplay of him. And turns out there was an issue, and they couldn't release the bundles today. And I was just like, wow, I was just so disappointed because, like, that was my plan for today. My plan for today was just, like, play with Absorbing Man all day, just have a ton of fun with him. I made sure that I had, like, nothing else going on today. So, yeah, today's been very boring because, like, the one thing I did have planned, I just couldn't do. And it was just, yeah, a very boring day overall. I still am sick. Like, I feel a lot better now, but I still have, like, the sickness in me, so I still can't go like outside or anything like for too long. So yeah, it's still very annoying because like I have nothing to do now. But anywho, that's why my day was kind of ruined. Hopefully tomorrow though, Absorbing Man does come out, like the early access bundles do come out, and I can just like make some videos on him because I'm very excited for him. He looks like a very fun character. I haven't seen any content creator gameplay yet because I want to save it for myself, you know. I just want to have like my first hands-on experience and then I can like talk about him. So yeah, very excited for that though. And now let's move on to the list for today, which is going to be the top 5 biggest letdowns of the year for me. Now, this year was amazing for characters. I feel like most characters were just like absolute wins, and I feel like they were just so good overall. But there were a few characters that really let me down, and I just want to talk about them in this video. So, first on my list, the 5th biggest letdown for me is going to be a bit controversial, but it is Gore the God Butcher. And this one really hurts because I used to be such a big fan of this guy, but then it just hit me, man. Like one day it just hit me and I'm just like, wow, this guy sucks. Because it kind of like when he got buffed, that kind of made me realize his issues, because before he was buffed, oh my gosh, so stressful to play. I just couldn't like stand to play him in any practical content because he was just way too impractical to be played. Like his rotation was so tight, like there is very little window for error. He was just a very stressful character overall, and I just feel like the payoff wasn't even that worth it. When there are like way better cosmic champions like Hulkling and Gallon that are like so practical, and Gore's just like the complete opposite, right? But then he got buffed and his duration got like a very nice increase. And I'm like, okay, this is promising, right? Because his durations were his problem. And then that was the sad part. The durations aren't really the problem. The problem is this guy does next to nothing besides his awakened ability and like having some very nice DOT. He does those two things, right? He is a very sad character, I feel like, because even with the durations increase, he still has like next to no utility. And it is just like very sad because like, you know, he doesn't have willpower, which is the biggest joke in the entire game. Additionally, his way to counter his damage over time debuffs is pretty bad as well. Like, he doesn't have immunity to these debuffs. He gets inflicted with, like, a regeneration. Like, let's say you get inflicted with, like, 10 shocks. You're gonna get, like, a bunch of regens. But I feel like you won't use that in like any real content where you need to like have an immunity to something. It's not a good replacement. It is just like a defensive ability, I feel like. This guy has like pretty much no immunities. His power burn, his way of dealing with it is also not too good. Whenever he's power burn, he gets a regen buff, which does help negate the damage, but you still don't gain any power. You still like gain 0 power and you still do like 0 damage overall. So it's just like the way he deals with things is just atrocious. It is just so bad. And I feel like this character is just still a major letdown even after the buff. But I'm not going to call him like completely terrible. He does have like some uses. His damage output is pretty nice. But he's just a big letdown for me overall. And that's number 5 of the list. Now let's talk about number 4. And I saw this one coming from a mile away. And this is Wong. Wong at first was so hyped and I had no clue what was going on. Because I was like, what are people seeing in this guy? He just like, he seems very mediocre at best. And as time progressed, I was right all along because this dude is very mediocre at best. There is just not enough with this character. This character has like next to nothing going on for him in the real practical content. I barely see him used in Battlegrounds. I barely see him used in like anything that isn't very long form content, because that was he was made for that, right? He was made for the long form content, and he does do that very well. He does have very good damage output as the fight goes on. His lifesteal is quite bonkers as well. He has things that are well suited for long form content, but the issue is no one needs to do long form content anymore. No one does like the Abyss or like Labyrinth anymore over like things like the Gauntlet and all that, which he can work for the Gauntlet, but it's not. He works for like 1 or 2 fights in the Gauntlet, right? He's not really a Gauntlet character. You can't take as many fights as like a Gallon or something. Just overall, he was made for content that just doesn't matter anymore. And I feel like that's why he's such a letdown, because I want to use this guy everywhere, right? I want to use him everywhere because he's a very fun character. He's a very awesome character. I love Wong. Like, in the movies, he's awesome. I love this character a ton. But in game, I just cannot force myself to use him because like he just takes way too long to ramp up, and it honestly just like doesn't feel worth it at some points, because outside of his like really good general utility, like his lifesteal and his damage, he really just doesn't have that much going on for him, right? He does have like the energy damage thing, which is pretty nice. He does have the fate seal once you get going, but it just takes too long to get going for that fate seal. So yeah, overall I just feel like there isn't too much going on with this character, and I feel like I was right all along when I said that this guy was a letdown from the beginning. So yeah, Wong is going to be number 4 on this list, and now let's move on to number 3. This one really hurts because I love this character so much, man. I truly love this character, and it is Sauron. Sauron is one of my favorite characters just because he is a literal dinosaur, and that is the coolest thing ever. But my gosh, when I pulled this guy for the first time, and I took him to rank 3, I was just so let down. Like, this dude is so basic. He's such a basic character. His damage output is, like, mediocre at best, and he needs to recoil masteries. He has very little utility. His utility is the fact that he is poison immune and he has bleed resistance, which is a very good kit, but it is just so common nowadays that it doesn't really matter, because like you have to have more than just that to be like viable, right? And he really just doesn't have anything else besides that. He has power steal immunity, which is nice, but that is just very, very niche, and I just won't see myself using him for like those matchups. Sauron overall, just a very fun character, but like just way too basic for a 2022 champ. Like, you would not think that he was made in 2022. He has the kit of like a fresh out of 2017 champ, to be honest. But yeah, it just really hurts to put him here because I love this character so much. I love the fact that he is a dinosaur. He is probably one of my favorites to play still. Just like he's a ton of fun, but the damage output is just like not enough for me in my opinion. So yeah, I still want to make some videos on him just because like he is a very fun character to watch. At least I think he's very fun to play. I think it's very fun to watch as well because he's just like a dinosaur, right? He also has like lasers as well, just very awesome stuff. He also like hypnotizes people. It is crazy. He is a crazy character. Like, on paper he is just like crazy, you know, like he hypnotizes people, he can turn people into dinosaurs. Just, it's crazy stuff, right? Because he's so cool. Like, he's so cool, but it just hurts because he's also like very not that good, and it just I hate it, man. I hate it so much because he's such a cool character. But yeah, this character like offers pretty much very little, and he just really isn't worth the rank up at all. But yeah, hurts to say, but he is number 3 on this list. I do want to still play with him. I just want to make some videos on him, but I'm just gonna be disappointed the whole entire time. Now, this next character is also one of my favorites. I made a whole series on her, like a pretty long series as well. And as much as I love this character, I just had to put her here, and it's Captain Britain. So Captain Britain is like very, very interesting because she's a very fun character. Like her damage output can get pretty nice at times. It just depends on like the matchup that she's in. But outside of her very ideal matchups, she just does like next to nothing, man, and it's so unfortunate. Like she has access to like some pretty nice utility, like a slow and all that. Her slow is very nice, but there are just so many slow champs in this game already, and there are some that just hit way harder than her, and they're like a lot more practical than her, I feel like. And her best use is like whenever the opponent can purify, she just gets like a ton of prowess and just dish out a lot of damage output. But you have to have like a lot of purify coming at you for it to be like actually viable. So yeah, like overall, her kit is super basic. Her damage output in regular fights is just very mediocre, and she just like doesn't really offer too much besides her really niche ability. But like, there's just not enough for me to like want to make me play her. I was very let down by her overall. Like, I expected a lot more from Captain Britain. I feel like she was going to be like an amazing damage dealer, but she is not an amazing damage dealer. Very like middle of the pack when it comes to damage output. I feel like she is on the lacking side when it comes to utility as well. So yeah, just not enough for this character for me to like want to like keep making videos on her, or just like keep playing her in general, to be honest. Like, I never use her. I have her at rank 3, and I just like can never get myself to use her for some reason, just because like she doesn't really do enough for me. So yeah, Captain Britain, number 2 on this list. Not really too much to talk about with her because she's just like so basic and just like very disappointing overall. I know she does have her fans, and that's good and all right. I don't think she's like absolutely terrible. I think she does offer some pretty nice things, but I was just a bit let down with her. And here we go. Now it's time for the number 1 pick for me. Who was the biggest letdown of the year? And this one is, there is like a pretty big gap between the number 2 spot and the number 1 spot, because this character is just like on a throne of disappointment, and it is Shuri. Oh my gosh, this character is bad. This character is very, 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 very bad. And I really hate to say it because she is such a cool character, like in the movies and all that. I really like this character in like the MCU. And when she got announced, I was like, dude, let's go. A playable Shuri? Like, finally, dude, right? And then it just all came crashing down in an instant because her damage output is so bad. I can't even, like, describe how bad her damage output is. It is so unbelievably terrible. And, like, her utility it's good. It's good utility, but you just cannot justify to use her when her damage output is that atrocious. It is so sad, man. This character just like broke me. I couldn't make a video on her because it was just so bad. There was just nothing I could do. There was nothing I could like use her for because the damage output was not good enough for like a single fight. It was just so disappointing, man. This character is just bad, man. This character sucks. I was so let down, and I'm just so disappointed because she's such a cool character, and her animations are pretty awesome as well, but this character just does, like, nothing. She does do some things, but her damage output is so bad that she is not worth it to, like, do those things. You should just bring someone else that has, like, very similar utility. Like, I would take Captain America Sam Wilson over this girl any day of, like, the century, because Sam Wilson, his damage output is actually, like, compared to her, it's not even that bad. And that is saying something because Sam Wilson is quite a notorious noodle. So, like, yeah, just a lot of reasons that this character disappointed me. And I think she is by far not only the biggest letdown of the year, but, like, the worst champion of the year. So, yeah, Shuri, such a shame, man. She is such a cool character, but she just does so little, and her damage output is just so bad. You just cannot play this character at all, man. And yeah, that wraps up the list. None of these characters are like complete dog water, you know, like none of them are like just like bottom of the barrel. These characters are like so trash. They all have their uses. They're all like pretty good in some scenarios, but these guys just like really let me down overall. So do let me know your thoughts on this list. That concludes the second edition of my new nighttime series. Very fun time. I have a lot of fun recording this just because like I can just like talk about whatever. I can just like go pretty off topic if I want as well. So yeah, hopefully the next episode is gonna be a lot more fun. This episode was Very fun to record. A bit controversial though, but you know what? It's just all in good fun, right? So yeah, let me know your thoughts on the series, and that's about it for me.